This is Lucas Alexander for ageoftruthtv, ageoftruth.dk. I am in front of the Parliament in London, and this is the Parliament Square Peace Campaign, and I am with Barbara, who's been here for 7 years. In fact, it started with a guy named Brian Hall who died last year, and so they're continuing his work to get peace and talk about what's actually going on. And I would like to talk to you, Barbara, about what you're doing and what's going on. So,
this is the Parliament Square Peace Campaign. It was started by Brian Hall, and he's got a very simple message, really, that resonates with everybody. You know, stop killing our kids. I mean, who wants to kill any of our kids? And it's a really simple message. And we show the truth of where we are today, really, that we have UK, US, NATO committing war crimes, Iraq, Afghanistan, illegal wars of aggression. We're showing torture, you know, there's torture and rendition, and that's the world we live in now. Anybody from anywhere can be kidnapped, tortured, their body dumped in a secret prison without trial. It continues. I suppose it was started, you know, Pinochet was like the blueprint, you know, throwing people out of planes. Now it's just gone global, really. We show that it's the most innocent and vulnerable that suffer. And we're also showing that they use depleted uranium in Iraq and Afghanistan, and obviously the depleted uranium makes the weapon stronger, but then the residue remains, and it's caused a massive increase in cancer and birth deformities. So it is another form of genocide. And they knew what they're doing, you know, Agent Orange in Vietnam, depleted uranium now. We are showing, as a small group of people, that you can stand up and say no. So in that respect, we're at the cutting edge, really, because we actually live no. We campaign 24/7 outside this government, and we challenge...
How long have you done that?
I've done 7 years of the 11-year campaign.
7 years, and how often do you actually sit here in front of the Parliament?
Yeah, 24/7. I've been arrested 47 times and been to prison twice.
Have you really?
Check out the website, you'll see.
How often are you here?
All the time, except for those times. I've been to prison twice without trial.
So you don't have a home to go to?
Well, yeah, I do, but this is a 24/7, you know, job, really.
Yeah.
It's not a 9-to-5 war, you know, and we're here saying this is what goes on all the time. People, this is Westminster Village, really. You know, people here, they write the checks every single week. You know, it's a real live, living thing, this war. It's not just something that's sort of an abstract idea. It's real, it's happening. These people here are responsible, and we're challenging them every week. And we are standing up and refusing to cooperate with this system. That's why we're getting arrested all the time. But we're saying you can peacefully resist. And my point is, if a small group of people can do this, 1 million people, if they took 1 week out of their 4 weeks annual holiday to come together and say no to these people, things would change. The power is with the people. I always put my trust with the people. The solutions are with the people. And some simple examples are, you know, I don't believe in this thing called voting for democracy anymore. I say, for example, I would take several hundred people at random off the street, put them in there. I trust the people, you know, look at a jury, they make sensible decisions. And if they had a referendum over war, that would be the end of war, but they daren't ask the people, why not? So it's always, if we can involve the people, things will change, you know.
So you don't believe in the system in the way that there is a two-party system or several different parties?
A little bit doubtful.
Several parties, like two parties in America, like the Democrats and the Republicans, and here you have basically the conservatives and the liberals.
I don't believe in the propaganda. I've lived here, I've seen the truth. Mm-hmm. You know, these are people bought and paid for by big business. If you follow the trails of who these people really represent, for example, when I was sent to prison in 2008, it was an oil trader, because I spoke out. He was taking backhanders. He was their man in government. A guy called Alan Duncan worked for Vitol Oil. Now, Vitol Oil are one of the big 3 oil traders. It's Vitol Oil, Glencore and Trafigura. And the guy that runs the House of Lords, he worked for Trafigura before, Lord Strathclyde. And he got a super injunction to stop parliamentary proceedings being reported. I mean, you know, these are guys with big money who are just bought and paid for. So, yeah, don't deal with propaganda.
Why exactly did you go to jail? And did they put you in jail?
Because I spoke, at that time I spoke out, And I touched a nerve. I said, have you had your expenses authorised by the Speaker of the House? And it was just before the expenses scandal blew up. And he knew he hadn't. He knew he hadn't registered £160,000 that he took for vital oil. So he went to silence that woman, and in his arrogance, he thought he could silence us. But 47 arrests, I'm still here. That's what they find difficult. You come back, you deal with the reality of who these people are. And I say...
Who are these people, do you think they are? What is actually going on? Why is this movement, why is this you're doing here, why is that really important?
Well, I tell you what, you know, they made laws against this campaign. Their most recent law was they could remove our shelter. So they made a law that they could breach health and safety to remove our shelter. So it was physically impossible for us to survive.
So the shelter here, right here, or in front of, or our homeless shelter? Or?
I am the first woman on this planet, it's real if you look at our website, to be prosecuted for peaceful possession of an umbrella. That tells you how desperate they are to get rid of this campaign. Because we've stood our ground, we've said you can stand up. I've got a letter from the Attorney General too, because we're recording proceedings in courts and broadcasting them. But the Attorney General has a problem. If he goes to YouTube and tries to get a court order, we can challenge it and we will win, because we're making a fair and accurate recording. So we want to free things up for people to show the truth of what's really going on. Take a look in the courts, because if you could clean up the legal system, it would be as simple as, if you can record in the courts, you will clean up the legal system. And, you know, not only record, but broadcast. Show what the judges are like. We were in the High Court last week. We went to one of our own cases, but afterwards it was more important. We looked at, somebody was bringing a claim for a judicial review of the government policy on the use of British intelligence that was given to the Americans over drones that were then used for killing. And, you know, the guy said quite simply, I want a judicial review to see that government policy complies with law. How extraordinary. And the government lawyer was saying, well, you know, murder in this country is not necessarily murder in this country. And I thought, I would love to broadcast that proceeding so people could see the arrogance of these people towards human life. Because really what we're saying here is, we need a system to protect life. Now we have a system that just says, you know, business interests take precedence over human life, and we're saying we will not be a part of it. But we actually live that here. So in that sense, the campaign is at a cutting edge, really. We are at the coalface. We do challenge them. They make laws against us because we are showing you can say no.
So what is your your basic thing? Is that to go against war or crimes or legislation or rules, laws, or the government policies, or what exactly?
Well, I think you see the worst killing that there is in the wars, really. You know, it's the most brutal. And pretty much everything else, if you look at it, flows from that. Because when I saw the Occupy movement in London, I don't disagree with what they did. I thought it was really, really good. But I went to myself, actually, you know, I wouldn't spend a single night in a tent over a financial system, although I know it's inextricably linked. But if you don't protect life first, you are never going to have the financial system that we need anyway. So to me, first we need to protect life, and we should anyway, or who are we? But we can always do with less in our pockets. But life is more important, so we'll do what's necessary to try and protect life first. Because anyway, when you challenge the government, they're going to say to you, what will it take to make you back down? Well, now they've removed our shelter, and I've been without shelter since January the 16th this year. I've been through the whole of last winter. I got frostbite, and they could not move us. But you know, they're breaching health and safety. They're the ones breaking.
But are you homeless, or do you actually have a place to go to?
Home, yeah. What I'm saying is,
so they will probably just say to you, why don't you go home?
Because it's a 24-hour campaign. War is not 9 to 5. And if you go home, when I was first arrested here, I just had a banner. You know, so it doesn't matter how you do it, they will find an excuse. It's the message. We're saying stop killing. If we give them an inch, these people take a mile. And we suffered without shelter, but it just reminded me that my suffering was nothing compared to the suffering of these people, these children. You know, and it's like remembering the children.
In what countries? In
Iraq and Afghanistan.
Afghanistan and
but you
Iraq.
Look in Palestine too. I was in Palestine when I was young. And what I say to people now is, you know, if you want to be part of a system who will brutally murder anyone for money, that is your choice. But do not presume for 1 minute that violence can be used against those of us who refuse to be part of that system, because we refuse. The soldier come along, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, I'm not paying for your gun, son. You know, and that was before he wanted to put a gun to my head. We got the video on the website, you know. I said, I am not paying for you to have a gun, because we actually got him on the website saying, I want to go to war to kill people. Excuse me? You know, and these people are dangerous. They're brainwashing young people as well. And
but do you actually think that this and what Brian Hall originally did here to set this up, do you think it makes a difference, even though you've been standing out here for so many years?
It does, because we've done what we needed to do, and we actually said no, and we changed our own lives. We challenged them. They make laws against us. And one of the beautiful things too is, I learned, you meet people from around the world, and it's contrary to the propaganda of, you know, the government and the media, the people really do care about one another. They don't want war, and these people are putting obstacles in the way of people speaking out. So I feel we have to go and try and clear the way for people as well, because no one should be arrested, no one should lose their job for speaking out. And so it's really, really important, because in this country you don't actually have the right to speak out in any meaningful way. If you want to march for one day to register your disapproval, that's fine. 1 million of you can do it. But if you want to stay for more than one day, you know, that's what they find a problem. But what we've also showing is you can do it peacefully. They are the ones that will resort to violence. We don't need to.
But why do you? It's a wonderful course to. Of course, you don't. Nobody wants war.
No.
But why do you have to sit here and suffer? You've not been to a war. You've not been here. You're sitting out here 24 hours of the day, and it's doing something great. But it's like,
it's a
what does it matter for you?
Because it's a responsibility. I've had a really good life. I'm a mother. I've got 2 sons. And anyway, I would lay down my life here, because here's where you really have the argument with government, before I would ever watch my sons go to fight for these people in here. But it's even more than that, really. I have a responsibility. I've had a good life. There's nothing wrong with my life. But we have a responsibility to help these people who, they didn't vote for this democracy. And sometimes people say, well, at least our government aren't so bad to us. And I'm going, well, actually, that's worse. Because going and killing people in another country is far worse than when they come for us, because we supposedly voted for them. These people never voted for anything, and look what we've done to their lives.
So do you believe in this democracy?
No, it is a propaganda exercise, really, and that's why I say it would just take, if it was my choice, I would say, why not just choose several hundred people at random from the street, put them in there, because when you look at juries, they're the people, and generally they make sensible decisions, and it is different because they're not bought and paid for like these people in government. And that's really important, because this democracy, it is just a facade, it is a fraud. And when it makes such important decisions...
if it's a fraud, it's not a democracy, is it?
Not really. But it is a whole propaganda, isn't it? Because they've sold the people a lie. Because if you really scratch the surface, you can see so many of the lies. Like, in this parliament here, people vote according to their government whips. Well, what's that got to do with democracy? You know, House of Lords, completely unelected. Who are these people? You know, so much of it is a fraud, but we don't really face that reality, and we need to stop living in denial. And because there was a really big Muslim demonstration several weekends ago, and the organisers came and spoke with us, and they said, you know, we are suffering as people. He said, but I look around me, and these people don't realise that it's going to happen to them too. And that's the truth, because I think if you look at it practically, China can't let America go down, because they'll go down with it. They own so much money. So they're just starting a global slave trade, really, aren't they?
So what do you think will happen if America and Britain goes into Iran?
Well, that's a really tricky one, because they've been saying for years here, what are you going to do when they go to Iran? And I'm going, well, I can't work out how they're going to do it. But now, with this Mitt Romney guy, I'm not sure he's just not a complete nutter, and that they might just do it anyway. They haven't convinced the people, though. There's a real problem here because they haven't convinced the people. The people have seen the scams that went on.
Well, if there's no democracy, they don't have to convince the people, do they?
But one good thing that came out of Occupy, the people know you come out and you don't go home. They're not going to go home. They'll come out on the streets and they'll peacefully just overthrow these people now. They've gone too far. They've done too much. Combined with the economic crisis, you will have people, anti-war economic crisis, coming together peacefully and they won't go home and they know it. That's
so
what
there's a lot of truth vibrations happening and a lot of awakening. So do you think that more people will wake up now to do something about it? Do you think it's time now that the people actually they get together and do something more constructive about it?
Well, the difficulty here is they're being blackmailed by the city, because when you speak to people from other countries, they know absolutely what's going on. But people in this country appear to be more brainwashed than people elsewhere. It is like we go, woo, everybody else gets it.
So do you think they use some kind of mass mind control on people?
It's called the BBC. It's like, but yeah, there's all, the propaganda here is so powerful, you know, it's just, and that's why they hate us too. The mainstream media in Westminster, because it's like an old boys club, they absolutely despise us, because every day we remind them that they lied too, you know, and that's why I say with the referendum, yeah, if you went to referendum and you had to talk about the laws of war, Rupert Murdoch really couldn't spin it like they did before. But these people, their days are past, because I know when they had the royal wedding here and the media were brought in to try and get rid of us, but they brought in all the media from around the world, really. And they said, the media were frightened because it was sort of the Arab Spring thing and blah, blah, blah. There's all sorts of goings on. But they knew that people no longer tune into the mainstream media in the way they did. And the younger generation simply won't, because they know what they're like. So I think there is a change in terms of where people get their information from, and it's called common sense anyway, isn't it? And what they want to be a part of.
So what are your thoughts about the financial crisis?
I mean, the bankers everywhere have stolen people's money, and then they've sort of come back for more, and the people have handed it over. So it's kind of a weird thing. The people keep handing it over without, and a member of our campaign says, why don't they look at Iceland? Look what they did. Arrest them. You know, actually deal with it. So I don't know why we didn't look at what people are doing elsewhere.
Yeah, but isn't it strange that you can have such a terrible, supposedly terrible financial crisis, and then still have you be able to host the Olympics and the Queen's Jubilee and all of these things that really is all about billions of pounds? It
was just, and both of those were a propaganda exercise for the government, really, weren't they? The Mayor of London went blah 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 Olympics, and the Queen went, I don't know why we had the whole Queen thing. It was just another propaganda exercise, wasn't it? Because it was the first time since the death of Diana where they were really able to try and put that one behind them, because they were so unpopular after her death. It was the first time where the people were kind of okay about it, I think. Not really, but
so
maybe.
it was a good thing for them.
It was a propaganda exercise, very clearly. Yeah. But isn't that what governments do? Bread and circuses, you know, roll it out for the people pay for it, and then the people go, oh, wasn't that jolly nice?
So the people still believe in the financial crisis, huh?
Well, that's what gets me, because you're going, well, hang on, they've just stolen all your money, and why are you celebrating? I mean, I don't get it myself.
It's an interesting question to ask, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's the power of the media still, isn't it?
And they're also able to pay for the wars. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
For arms and you know, the military and all that. That's a lot of money going into that.
I suppose it's because they do not meet enough resistance from the people. The people need to do like in Iceland and just say no, because it's a really simple thing to do. Once you say it, the government kind of look at you and go, because years ago they used to say to us, comply. They used to actually use the word. We videoed it while they were arresting us, the word comply. And then they kind of gave up. And they used to interview us. We got interviewed by detectives, and they used to say, you've got politically motivated material. And we would go, and? What do you think we're doing, for God's sakes? But they actually like the mindset, they've been brainwashed, these people. This is what you're going to be doing now.
The politicians or the population?
The police.
The police has been brainwashed.
You will do the job of the politicians, and in Westminster they do. It's really like, but it is cloud cuckoo land. And when you see like the Savile inquiry here, which is into like child abuse now, there must be a lot of politicians whose blood's running cold now. It wasn't just the BBC, you know, it's the judges, the police, the politicians, they're all involved.
So you think there's a lot of pedophilia going on within government circles and higher places?
Well, several years ago we were saying about how there was a paedophile ring operating out of Westminster Magistrates Court, and the police said, yes, we know. So what are you doing about it, guys?
Oh, they told you they knew that?
Yeah. Well, judges there the judge had to resign there because he had rent boys. He tried to prosecute Brian at the campaign. And there's all sorts of things, but they don't really even retire them, like Flasher Richards in the High Court. He's caught flashing on trains. He's still sitting as a Lord Justice in the High Court. You know, these people, and because I suspect, you know, a lot of the Tories say they're gay. I actually believe because they're so nasty that they're paedophiles, because they're too vicious, they're too nasty. I think they hide behind the gay banner. I think they're really paedophiles. And these people, I'm telling you, they hate children, they hate women, with a vengeance around here. And I've lived it, you know, I know it. Mm-hmm. And so I actually don't believe when they hide behind the gay banner, many of them are, I actually believe they're paedophiles. So I'm not surprised at all. And the BBC are part of the Old Boys Club here, so it's
come out now in the media that Jimmy Savile was actually recruiting children for government officials. Yeah. It's kind of been in the mainstream news, and also he was a very good friend of the royals, wasn't he? It's been it's been reported a bit now.
Oh, they're all friends around here. They really are. I mean, we've seen it.
So, what are your thoughts on David Icke, for example?
I love David Icke. He's sweet. He came down here. He's really lovely, actually.
He came down here?
Yeah, and he was down here because he was a friend of Brian's. And he was, you know, because you hear all the things about him, but actually, I meet some really strange people on the pavement here, and I have to say, he was one of the most down-to-earth people I've met. He was really his heart, and he's almost got it's almost like an aura about him, because he's so gentle and so kind. I love him to bits. Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
How long have you known about David Icke's work?
That long, really. Before I did this campaign, I didn't,
And how long have you been doing this campaign?
7 years now.
7 years.
So, but I do personally, I think, and because you know he's really good with loads of facts. And I said to him, some of the thing I'm a bit dumb, I don't get, and he said that's fine. You take it or leave it, and that's fine. But gee, you know, so much of what he says is true, and he's a powerful voice speaking out for Palestinian people where no one else in the West does either, which gives him a lot of grief from people. So I've got a lot of respect for him, actually. And I think people should really open their minds more to what he says. You know, we might not get everything, but who gets everything about what anybody says? We would all disagree on some point. But it was what really struck me was how down-to-earth he was, and that's not the image that they portray of him at all. But I've met a lot of people here, and he's just a really good bloke.
The Parliament Square Peace Campaign.
Yeah, it was started by Brian Hoare, and he was an extraordinary man too. I've never met a man like him, really, because first man in hundreds of years actually stood up to this government, and that was outside their own realm of experience, so they never knew what to do, and it always terrified them. Like, stop the war. You know, I always wondered, why didn't stop the war, you know, help him out? Why didn't they? Because they're controlled. And Brian wasn't controlled. We didn't come from, none of the members of our campaign came from the activist community. We were just ordinary people, and we all stumbled across each other. And because when I came, it was really simple. I came, I saw, I got what he was doing and went, whoa, why wasn't this being done before? And why aren't there more people? And because people here are being conditioned, you go out for one day and then you go home.
So did Brian Hoare die because he was out here in the cold too much and his health wasn't good, or was he too old, or why did he die?
The government killed him.
The government killed him?
Yeah, because and see what they're doing now is they removed our shelter because they know, if you ask them, they'll tell you, if you put stress on people's immune system, it breaks down, you're going to die of something. That's their intention with us now. Well, his immune system broke down. First they damaged his back, they threw him on the ground. There's video footage of it. His immune system broke down. He got cancer. They refused him an operation in this country. When he had the operation in Germany, he died of complications. But again, it was when they withdrew treatment. We were giving him alternative treatment, which he got septicemia, and that was helping, the alternative treatment. They said he couldn't have it anymore, and then he died.
How old was he?
62.
That's not very old.
No, and we say they did murder him because they intentionally knew what they were doing when they broke down his immune system. I completely understood. And so then they made a law.
How could they break down his immune system?
Because he was in so much pain with his back. Because his back was damaged. And first they didn't do anything, then they said the story, it's too late. So he was in a lot of pain.
But do you think it was because he was out here all the time that his back was so bad?
No, there is actual footage, and it is linked to what the police did, and that they threw him, it's there. There's no dispute over that part of it, really.
Wow, so you've kind of taken over a bit as the new leader of the...
No, I hate to say that. No, we campaigned together for 6 of the 7 years that I've done it, because obviously he's passed away. No, we continue in his spirit. He's the leader, His spirit lives on with us through what we do. We don't try and change anything. This is the way he did it. Everything he did was right. Not taking over. We continue. Yeah, so...
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope that gives you some